Hey there, all. This is Ashley Dugas, just reporting on my action research project. My action research project is a lot like my PE Geek presentation that everyone saw back in Morgantown. A couple goals and objectives. My students will analyze a number of steps taken within different activities. The students will also collect data from those activities and compile into a graph to show the maximum and minimum steps taken throughout every activity. The learner will also achieve at least 3,000 steps within the aerobic unit. Now, this can also be changed either if I see that they aren't going to be in class as much, or if I see that they're achieving their goal way too fast, I can also increase the number of steps, just depending on what class and how the schedule goes. And also, I will allow exploration of the students independently. One of my personal goals is to allow the students to explore and find these answers on their own. I tend to try to spoon feed the answers to them, and one of my personal goals for this is to allow them to explore it on their own, kind of like that light bulb effect that us as teachers are trying to portray. And my purpose for this is to examine the impact of pedometers during daily activities, as well as various activities within their day, whether it's during class, coming from breakfast to class, lunch to class, and explore why it's important to engage in physical activity daily. This slide just shows you the NASB standards that I will address, the two major ones. Obviously, you can see right there. And I also wanted to put in my Louisiana State standards, just because I have a checklist within my lesson plans, as some of you guys might have seen. For my PE Geek lesson, I'm very fortunate to have a checklist within my lesson plans. For this project, I'm actually wanting to use a 4th grade class. The reason why I'm not choosing 5th grade is because we are involved with this fancy classrooms concepts within my parish. So I'm actually going to use one of my 4th grade classes. And my classes run about 25 to about 28 students per class. 30% of my students all have IEPs. We are also about 80% free and reduced lunch. All students are well versed in the operation of the laptop being used, kind of going back to what I shared with everyone about our Top Gains grant and how we do have several 15 laptop carts available to any teacher's discretion. And the instruction on the use of pedometers will occur prior to instruction of the unit. So this will be something new for my students, and I'll actually have to walk them through how to use the pedometer, what's the pedometer for, well before this unit ever takes place. Okay, so the equipment and technology plan. I will have 2 15 laptop carts. Some days I might only need 1 cart, and especially depending on what the schedule is of who's signing out the carts. Every student will have their own pedometer. I do have equipment captains within my class, and those change from class to class. The 2 equipment captains will distribute the pedometers to students after their warm-up exercises. Or, depending on the day, we might actually keep the pedometers on them, just to kind of have that as a gauge to add to their chart at the end of the unit or at the end of the day. 5 students at a time will gather 2 laptops, one for themselves and one for a friend. So if we need laptops for each student, then 5 students will get 2 laptops, one for themselves and one for a friend. If they're working in groups, then one person from each group will grab 1 laptop per group. Students will be instructed to stay on task. Only sites on the laptop should be Google Docs and EKT Elementary. The students will access their Google Docs through my personal PE website through Calcasieu Parish Schools website, which is a very good thing for me. And this also, if the students are not on task, could be a result in the loss of privileges within their laptop. Basically, instead of them working on their own, they will have to come and work with me. Equipment managers will also pick up the pedometers and account for each one. That includes the laptops in the class, making sure that all laptops were plugged in correctly, and making sure that there's nothing wrong with the laptops. Maybe they're not plugging in or they're not charging for any reason. They need to let me know. Okay, so the project overview. Students will record their results from the pedometer into a Google Doc. So any activity that we do for that day, they're going to perform the activity, put their number of steps into a specific Google Doc underneath the activity. So for example, if we do one of the Go Noodle brain breaks, such as the javelin throw, one of the ones that y'all were able to participate in, same thing that what you guys did. You'll do the activity, and they'll put their number of steps underneath that chart. The activities that we are going to explore will not only be limited to warm-up, any brain breaks, Taebo, yoga, travel from class to gymnasium and back, running, walking, sitting, non-PE days, jump rope, and student choice. This can go even outside for recess and possibly even back at home. At the conclusion of this aerobic unit, students will use the data collected to create a graph comparing the number of steps taken during various activities using the classroom laptops. Now, this is also going to have to be exposed to the students beforehand, so we're not taking as much time. Okay, this is how you create a graph. My goal is to, well before we even get to this point, they know how to work their pedometers and they know how to work with certain programs so that we can get in there, take care of our business in the lab, and get out. Students will have a goal of achieving at least 3,000 steps within the total unit. Once again, I will change that number depending on the academic schedule, school schedule, or I can increase it if I feel like the students are going to get well above that. I will use a laptop and projector to deliver the brain break portion of the unit, as well as monitor any information input within the Google Doc. That's one thing I really enjoy about the Google Doc. It's instant, and I can see what students are on task, who is not putting in their information, and who needs a little bit of encouragement to get back on task. And the students will complete a survey journal portraying their thoughts regarding unit activities. So this kind of helps with the student exploration with writing prompts. And I'm actually going to use a Google form that my good buddy Luke helped me out on. Thanks again, Luke. That's a little plug for you, buddy. That will be input into a spreadsheet so I can see all the results at one time. And I'm very excited to see what happens with that. And last but certainly not least, the measurement and evaluation plan. I will be evaluating the students on their daily input of steps within the Google Doc in class. So that chart, that Excel chart that we all use, my guys are going to be using the same exact thing. Also, the 3,000 step mark. If my students do not achieve 3,000 steps, I would actually like them to come up with an activity to present to me to make sure that everything's good to go for them to get those 3,000 steps. So kind of a student choice thing thrown in there. And at the conclusion of the unit, the students will create a graph displaying their overall activity. Students will also provide a paragraph describing discoveries and feelings throughout the unit. Basically, my whole idea with this unit is we all do aerobic units. And for myself, I do an aerobic unit. I put in a video. I make an obstacle course. We do aerobics. We talk about aerobics, and then we move on to the next thing. I want to use the pedometers and have them chart this so they can actually see why is this important? Why is physical activity important? Is it, oh wow, if I walked this many steps today, oh, I was in a great mood that day, or man, you know, I didn't do as much today and I was in a really bad mood. So kind of put that correlation with them. I'm very excited about this, and I hope my results are as exciting as I am about this. So thank you everyone for listening. Have a wonderful day.